Hey, Ezra Levant here. We just got back from our trip to Israel, which was amazing. That's not just my opinion. Israel's largest newspaper, Israel Today, loved one of Faith Goldie's videos so much they uploaded it with Hebrew captions, and it got nearly 1 million views in the first 2 days. Pretty incredible for a country of just 8.5 million people. Not to be outdone, Al Jazeera hated one of Faith's videos so much, where she showed how the Muslim PLO has ethnically cleansed Christians out of Bethlehem, including right there in Manger Square. Well, Al Jazeera showed Faith's video and criticized it, and that had about 2 million views in the first 2 days. So people are talking about our journalism. Even while we were there, in Jerusalem, in Tel Aviv, strangers on the street would call out to us. They recognized me or Gavin McInnes from our videos. I didn't expect that, but they were thrilled to see us because they know we're pro-Israel, unlike the leftist mainstream media. A speakers bureau in Tel Aviv asked Gavin to give a talk, and on 1 day's notice, more than 200 people RSVP'd, and Gavin did a hilarious half-speech, half-comedy routine, partly as himself, and partly in character as his PLO-loving leftist brother, Miles. It was a hoot. And then afterwards, about 100 people stayed to talk to him, and to me too. So many people want to come to work with us, which is great. I'd love to set up an Israel bureau for the Rebel. Anyways, if you want to see all of our videos from that recent trip, go to rebelisrael.com. Now, normally I'd end the video here. I'd say, look at all our great reports and please chip in if you want to help us because we're 100% viewer supported. But I have another part to this video that's just for Jews. It's sort of long, so everyone else can stop watching now because this is probably boring Jewish stuff. It's even a little bit boring to me, and I'm Jewish myself. See, something funny has popped up after this trip. Like I said, millions of people have watched our videos, millions. Israel loves us, and Al Jazeera, which is the state broadcaster of the OPEC dictatorship in Qatar, well, they hate us. All right, fair enough. It's not that the Rebel is Jewish. I mean, I'm Jewish, but out of the 19 other people working here in our head office, we only have one other staffer who's Jewish, Eitan. Being pro-Israel is not an ethnic or religious thing for the Rebel. It's a freedom thing, a cultural thing. Same reason we're pro-Taiwan. They're the little guy, the little pro-Western democracy that doesn't want to be crushed by the tyrannical dictatorship of China. We have no ethnic or religious ties to Taiwan. We love them because they're free and they're like us, even though they're a different race and culture. Actually, we do have cultural ties. We believe in freedom and borders and self-determination. One of the things we like best about Israel was that it has strong borders and a fence. And we want that for Canada and the US and Europe too, frankly. Anyways, I told you who loved our trip. Israelis, Jews, Christians, including hundreds of Christians who helped crowdfund our trip. Conservatives. Our people loved it. Arab dictatorships hated it, as you can tell by Al Jazeera. But all this turned into a crisis moment for a small number of our viewers who apparently self-identify as racists or even anti-Semites. Now, as you know, we're one of the top YouTube news sites in the world. We have more than 600,000 YouTube subscribers, and we get more every day. But a few things happened all at once. We went to Israel, and by coincidence, in the same week, one of our contributors, Jay Feza, criticized white nationalism in a way I consider was fairly thoughtful, actually. And then Gavin McInnes, our zany commentator, well, he made some off-color comments, as he does pretty much every day. That's his shtick. But he went pretty far this time. It was for another TV company he works for, too, but he corrected them on our channel, and I'm glad he did. Here, take a look.
No offense, Nazis. I don't want to hurt your feelings, but I don't like you. I like Jews.
So yeah, Gavin came out against Nazis, if that wasn't already evident from his week producing videos in Israel. But anyways, all these things together, it shook out some of our viewers who were anti-Semitic or racist. How many do you think that was out of our 600,000? Well, it was about half of 1%. About 3,000 people quit being YouTube subscribers to us over our trip to Israel, or because they thought we were too Jewish, or Jay Feza was too anti-racist, or Gavin McInnes was too mean to neo-Nazis, whatever. Gavin swore at David Duke, the former Klan leader, and criticized Richard Spencer, the leader of the alt-right. So they're mad at us, which is fine. I believe that Israel's the good guy in the battle between the West and Islam, by the way. I believe Jay Feza is right. Conservatism should not be just for whites. And if you're a European person worried about demographics, well then get busy having babies. I agree that most so-called multiculturalism these days is actually anti-white racism, like the Black Lives Matter front group. Jay agrees with me on that, by the way. I think that whites are the only group left that it's socially acceptable to abuse in movies, in popular culture, in politics. But I don't agree that the solution is racism from our side back. And as to Gavin, look, I know the man well enough to know that he's an equal opportunity offensive joke teller who enjoys ticking off every single person he ever meets, Jew or Gentile, black or white. If he's a racist, well, you know, someone should tell his American Indian wife and kids, because they'll be surprised. Anyways, my point is, if 0.5% of our viewers don't like the fact that we went to Israel and that Jay's against racism and that Gavin's against neo-Nazis, that's fine. We've actually grown our subscriber base to a new record level already. Okay, so what? Well, here's my point, and this is why I said this part of the video is just for Jews. There was one other group that's really mad at us, super mad, much more angry than a few thousand anonymous YouTube or Twitter Nazis. And you're not going to believe it, but it's true. The group that is the angriest about our trip to Israel is liberal Jews. Actually, not just that, but liberal Jewish journalist activists. Now, I know that sounds weird, and it's such a small quantity, I wouldn't normally mention it. I mean, I can count them on one hand. But it's taught me something about anti-Semitism, and I'd like to share it with you. And if any anti-Semites are still watching, I'll come back to this in a few minutes. I mentioned before that Gavin, who has made a career out of edgy jokes, walked back some of his comments about Jews and the Holocaust, comments he made on another channel. The guy is edgy and controversial all day. It never stops. Believe me, I spent a week with him in Israel, and I haven't laughed that much or that hard since I was a child, and I wish I could repeat half his jokes for you, but so many people would sue me, especially his Scottish parents. Anyways, the guy goes full tilt all the time, and he sort of workshops his ideas and jokes in real time, but these days everything's recorded, so he's going to step over the line sometimes, and in this case, he walked it back. But what I like about Gavin is that there's no ideas off limits to him to explore, no people off limits for him to engage. He's not afraid of interviewing anyone. He had Richard Spencer on our show at the Rebel and asked Spencer how he felt about me as the Jewish boss of the place. I thought that was classic. On his other show on that other network, he's a bit more like Howard Stern. He loves interviewing porn stars or other oddballs. If you don't like that kind of gonzo journalism, don't watch it. You could say the same about Chris Rock or even Russell Peters too, but they get away with a lot more because they're visible minorities, so they get a pass. And yes, we're back from this trip to Israel. It was so good, we'll probably go back. We'll probably open a Rebel Bureau there. Faith's a star there. Gavin's a star there. Huge win for us. All right, 3,000 online neo-Nazis don't like it, but I really don't care. I'm sympathetic to concerns about multiculturalism and population replacement by mass Muslim migration into Europe and the ethnic cleansing of Christianity from the world. I'm for nationalism. I'm for borders, both for Israel and also for Germany and for America. I just don't believe in racism or anti-Semitism, and if 0.5% of our viewers do, they can leave if they don't want to listen to our side of the story anymore. But in addition to those 3,000 neo-Nazis who quit us, 4 liberal Jewish journalist activists have gone on a bit of a Jewish jihad against us, claiming that we're anti-Semitic. Now, we just did a pro-Israel journalism trip. I am Jewish. Faith Goldie is a star over in Israel. Gavin McInnes is a star over there. And back here in Canada, we're fighting the fight against the wave of anti-Semitism that has come in with Stephen Harper's and Justin Trudeau's mass Muslim migration. Here's Sheila Gunn-Reid, who was on our trip. Here she is wearing her Jewish Defense League gear. She also has an Israel Defense Forces shirt. But seriously, some liberal Jewish journalists are mad at us because we're apparently anti-Semitic. Now, how? How can we be too Jewy for the neo-Nazis and also too anti-Semitic for these liberal Jewish journalists? How can both of these things be true? Is it Gavin? What do you think?
Israel should enjoy their wall and be proud of it because it works. And so my message when I'm out here is the opposite of Banksy's. My message here is that walls work. I just see that as capitulation. I see a lot of weakness here. Sorry, Nazis, you're wrong. Israel's right again.
I think the Nazis have this one right and the liberal Jewish journalists have it wrong. Gavin's a bit of a Jew lover. I mean, sometimes he's just a bit rowdy.
Spit talk. They spit when they talk. The whole language is clearing your throat.
Yeah, it's true. That sound is pretty spitty. But if you're going to call every joke about Jews anti-Semitism, you're going to have to prosecute Seinfeld and Curb Your Enthusiasm for hate crimes. Can I just quickly digress and show you something really funny from Curb Your Enthusiasm? There's some swearing here, so if you don't like that, click away. It's when Larry David, a really Jewy Jew, has sex with an anti-Semitic Palestinian woman. Take a look.
Me, you fucking Jew! Ah!
Filthy Jew!
Jew! You Zionist pig! You occupying
I'm
Occupy
an occupier.
this.
I'm an occupier.
Yeah, I'm going to the Jew out of you!
That is so funny. Or is the rule that only Jews can make jokes like that, or else they're anti-Semitic? Or is a Jewish joke only okay if it's really funny? There's so many rules for comedy in 2017, and I really don't want to obey them. But you probably don't believe me that some Jews are mad, so let me show you, okay? Here's leftist journalist, activist Michael Koren, whose father was a Jew, and he constantly plays that Jewish card, even though he's actually not Jewish himself. Here he is writing in The Walrus, whose editor, Jonathan Kay, is another leftist Jew. The headline is, "The rebel hits a new low. The very least that could be said of Ezra Levant is that he defended Jews from hate, but that's now in the past." Hey guys, did you know that about me? Here's Jonathan Goldsby, another leftist Jewish journalist activist writing in Canadaland, a website run by another leftist Jewish journalist activist named Jesse Brown. And again, at least 3 breathless stories about us that I've counted. Here's one where they say that Sheila Gunn Reid, the JDL supporting, IDF supporting Jew lover, is anti-Semitic because she has a nickname for me. She calls me the Junicorn. It's a nickname I love and I laugh at and I occasionally use myself. I mean, look, we're no Larry David over here and our channel is no Curb Your Enthusiasm. I wish we were that funny. But these leftist Jewish journalist activists literally went through an entire comedy show parsing each joke as if it were taken from Mein Kampf. These people are insane. Jonathan Kay, and look, I don't want to be mean to him because his mother does great videos for us, but Jonathan Kay is an anti-Israel Jew. I know that sounds nuts, but he actually bragged about that to the Jerusalem Post. He says Jews in North America support Israel too much, and he's decided that Jews need to attack Israel more, and I'm going to quote him now. He says, quote, "Because I became so weirded out by the spineless American response to Netanyahu when Congress greeted him like a hero." So Jonathan Kay, he now works with an anti-Israel extremist group called J-Space. That's the Canadian cousin to the anti-Israel J Street. So he's now a champion for Israel, protecting them against the big bad rebel, really? Kay published a bizarre anti-Semitic piece of artistic fiction in his magazine where an Orthodox Jew raped animals. I'm sorry, this is obscene. I'm going to read from it, so if you don't like obscenity, just turn the volume down for a minute. This is a piece of fiction published in Jonathan Kay's magazine, so turn down your volume now, it's super gross. Ephraim Cobre realized that he wanted to fuck wild things at the age of 42. Out for a stroll one evening in late August, he spotted a white-tailed fawn nibbling the buds of a poplar in a corner of Mount Pleasant Cemetery near the opulent family mausoleums, and his erection was instant, painful, the erection of a 14-year-old boy, unquote. It goes on and on and on, and this Jewish Orthodox man rapes animals, and this was published as artistic fiction by Jonathan Kay. I think somebody needs to visit a psychologist. I mean, was that story translated from the original German in Der Stürmer? Orthodox Jews are animals that rape animals? Are you kidding me? Or how about Jonathan Goldsby? For years, he worked at a far-left street newspaper called Now Toronto that indulges in anti-Semitic themes, like this bizarre implication that I'm a greedy Jew who only says what I say because I'm paid to do so. That is also Der Stürmer-style, Nazi-style imagery. And today, I'm not pro-Israel enough for him. Is Gavin not Zionist enough for him? Here's Goldsby tweeting. He says, "Toronto Star rocks. What part of no does Israel fail to understand?" Yeah, you suck it to him, Jonathan. Or here, where he supports a group accusing Israel of apartheid, another anti-Semitic canard. Or here, supporting anti-Semitic propaganda again. Or here, where he's ashamed to be Jewish because of what Israel does in his name. Hey, Jonathan, you're ashamed of Israel? I'm guessing the feeling's mutual. And so he works for a site run by another leftist Jewish journalist activist now, Jesse Brown. And here's what Jesse Brown says.
This does challenge some basic notions that Jewish people everywhere have about ourselves as a moral people. I mean, to have been oppressed and to now find ourselves in the role, whether it's our fault or not, as the permanent oppressor, or at least the occupier. I mean, that is a challenge to a notion of a Jewish self.
Jesse, you're a Jew in Toronto. You're not oppressing anybody, but you have some sort of group guilt thing, blaming all Jews as if we're all morally culpable for what any other Jews do. And you think Jews in Israel are oppressors. I'm pretty sure that's verbatim what anti-Semites say, Jesse. I don't even think Richard Spencer goes that far. And here's where Michael Koren stands, the guy who wrote about us in Jonathan Kay's magazine. This is written by Rabbi Shmuley Boteach, a leading Jewish activist in the U.S. who appeared on Michael Koren's TV show back at Sun News. Here's what Rabbi Boteach said about the experience. He said, quote, "People like Koren who perpetuate the anti-Semitic canard, the Jews both control Hollywood and have contempt for Christians, are a serious obstruction to the new era of Jewish-Christian brotherhood and rapprochement," unquote. Now, I know that can't be true. I mean, unlike Gavin McInnes, who's a comedian who jokes around, Michael Koren would never do anything, even in jest, like making jokes about Jews or Nazis, would he?
Take care. God bless. Goodbye.
Oh, wow. Michael Koren really did that, and yeah, he admitted it was a Nazi salute, but he was just showing off. That's his excuse. He was just showing off, people, because that's a normal thing to do and a normal thing to say. Here's something Michael Koren wrote just a few months ago, keeping with the Nazi theme. Here he is defending BDS, which stands for boycotting, divesting, and sanctioning Jews in Israel. He says, "It might be true that BDS activists single out Israel, but it's also true that supporters of Israel single out BDS. Neither side is pure." Yeah, Israel. Stop singling out people who are trying to put sanctions on you. What a kook. So what's going on here? We've got the most pro-Israel news media in Canada here at The Rebel, not because we're Jewish, but because we're conservative. And we're for the right of a state to live in peace and democracy and have secure borders and stand up to Muslim terrorism. I was the only Jew from our staff on the trip. Other than me and Eitan, our company is made up completely of righteous Gentiles on our staff. Gavin might not be so righteous, fine. He might be occasionally rude and often gross, and sometimes he's dead wrong, but the guy is pro-Western civilization, pro-Israel, and even set up a Tel Aviv chapter of his fraternity, Proud Boys, while he was over there. So why are these four left-wing Jewish journalist activists saying that we're anti-Israel or we're anti-Semitic? Because of bad jokes or one dumb comment by Gavin? And isn't it weird that every single one of them is actually pretty anti-Israel and about as Jewish in their personal lives as a ham sandwich? I mean, what's going on here? Don't you think it's weird? I mean, if these four critics were practicing Jews who were religious, maybe they'd have something to say about Judaism. If they were ethnic Zionist nationalists, maybe I'd listen to them about Israel. But they're neutral at best, anti-Israel at worst. And then there's that weird Nazi salute by Koren. So why would these folks attack us as being anti-Israel or anti-Semitic? Well, that's the worst part. These four leftist Jewish critics are more leftist than they are Jewish, aren't they? They don't really care about Jews or Israel. They haven't had a journalistic mission to Israel like we just did. They don't have thousands of fans, millions of fans in Israel. They don't have viral videos in Israel. They sort of hate Israel, at least embarrassed by it. They're embarrassed by being Jews, I think. So they're not mad at Gavin and me and Faith and Sheila because we're anti-Semitic. We're obviously not. They're mad because we're conservative and because my friends are conservative Christians and we support Israel. These four don't give a damn about Israel, as I proved to you. They're just leftist social justice warriors who are using their vestigial Jewishness as a weapon to attack conservatives. It's a false attack and it's slander. But when a Jew calls you an anti-Semite, it's sort of like a black person calling someone racist. It wounds you, even if it's untrue. These four have used the word anti-Semite as an attack, as a smear. It's not accurate, of course. It's to blacken our good name. It's so patently, obviously untrue. You see, they're more leftist than they are Jewish. All their Judaism's good for to them is for bashing conservatism, and weirdly, even bashing Zionists. Corin and Kay and Goldsby and Brown, they actually don't call out real anti-Semitism in Canadian mosques, on Canadian campuses, even in their own magazines and websites. They're actually cowards in the face of leftist anti-Semitism and Islamic anti-Semitism. But there's just one more layer. I'm Jewish, so I laugh when someone calls me anti-Semitic. But it's not funny when you're a Gentile receiving that insult. It could be a career killer. Now, no one is taking these leftist Jews seriously. Israelis sure aren't. Al Jazeera isn't. The 3,000 neo-Nazis who left us aren't. But the thing is, when four liberal Jews falsely call you anti-Semitic, it stings, especially if you know it's false and you know that they know it's false, and you realize that it's just a weapon that leftist Jews use to shut you down. Could you imagine if I actually fired my staff, as these leftist Jewish activists want me to do? If I were a Jew who would fire these Jew lovers because some leftists use the epithet anti-Semite as a political weapon, I wouldn't be surprised if I were immoral enough to do that, that someone fired so falsely would actually feel some feelings of anti-Semitism towards me and the liberal Jewish journalist mob that egged me on to fire them. You know, it's not Gavin McInnes or the rest of our pro-Israel crew that's creating anti-Semitism. It's leftist Jews who really don't give a damn about Judaism or Israel other than as a political weapon to scold conservatives. It's those leftist Jews who are spreading Jew hatred. If you want to see what we really believe about Jews in Israel, go to rebelisrael.com.